Okay, so I'll just we'll get started here because again I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Some of you possibly on lunch break, some of you are at home, some of you could be on the beach somewhere, sipping tequilas, which is nice, which is okay. So I still want to respect each other's time. So again, my name's Matt Thomas. I'm the manager of coach education for Alberta Soccer. We do have Claire Patterson, who is on the line. Do you want to say a quick hello, Claire?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so she's a programs assistant, coaching programs assistant with the Alberta Soccer. We do have John Clubb on the line as well, who is our grassroots manager as well. So again, you have all three of us from the technical department online here. Looking forward to this. So again, as you can see the title there, individual development within the collective. So today we'll be going through starting with the me and then getting to the we. And again, Claire, you'll keep me honest with that by the time we get through a few of these slides. So it won't be too long. We'll just get going here. So can everyone see my screen, by the way? Give me a big thumbs or a yes up before I get going here, just so I can make sure everyone can see my slides okay. So whether it just be a yes, a thumbs up, fantastic. Good. Okay.
Yes, all good.
Fantastic. Good. So let me just move this first. Okay, so we're gonna go through a few things here, and again, this is not the all and end all. This is to sprinkle some thoughts around your thinking regarding the individual within the collective. So when we say the collective, we're talking about a team, and whether that's 5 players, 6 players, 8, 11, 18, the team, but you've got individuals who make up that team. So again, we'll be starting with the me and getting to the we. Okay, so just some things we're going to cover here. I'm only going to give you 3 deliverables. These will be deliverables you've never heard of or you've heard of. The thought is to, again, get you thinking. You can add some more onto this, and you can even share that with us if you want as well. Philosophy, communication, visual evidence, self-reflection weeks, and then receivables. So we will be covering some of that in depth. Again, as we normally say, if you wanna, the chat box is there. If you've got a question regarding one of the slides I'm on, pull it in. We can always revisit that question as well at the end as well. Okay. Perfect. All right, so we'll get going here. Okay, so when we talk about deliverables, in regards to individual development, okay, as a coach, okay, as a coach, whether you're a coach here, and even if you're a parent here on this line as well, a lot of this is going to relate to you. But even as a coach, some of the things, can you put a questionnaire, fill out a questionnaire that you personally fill in about yourself, your development, and where you want to grow along that season. So again, that's something, because we all tend to navigate to other people, but can you start with yourself? What are your goals that you would like to achieve that season, right? You're an individual still within the collective, right? It's not just about the players, it's about you. And not only you, but what about your assistant coach, right? What about having that discussion and filling out, or getting your assistant coaches to fill one out as well? What are their goals for the season? What are some of the things they want to achieve individually, being part of this team, right? I've put there, have a plan, your team will fill in each individual. So, your captains. This is an interesting one for me, and we've done it over the years. Have your captains speak to every individual on the team and find out what each individual wants to achieve as well. But instead of that message coming back to you and your assistants, guess who it's going back to now? Your captains. So not only are your captains building that rapport with their teammates, they're getting to find out as well what drives their teammates, what are their teammates looking to achieve individually before we start talking about the team. And I think that's something that we can all start utilizing, and think of the confidence and the relationships that come from the captains actually having those conversations. It's powerful. And then sharing those conversations with you. So again, it's based on the individual within the collective. And then obviously you have each individual player fill out their role. So not only have we just had the captains having that conversation and building that, what does it look like, individual goal, but then you can have the players themselves as well, individually, put that in as well. Write it in, whether it's a questionnaire, whether it's however they feel to do it, type it in. But there's just 3 there that straight away you can start to implement if you've never implemented it before. And that's not the only 3. There's different ways, but this gets you going. And the thing I love about this is it's not just adults to kids, it's kids to kids, players to players. Right? Again, we love their input. Let's gauge it in different ways. Are the kids going to tell their captain something different probably to what they would tell you, or probably to what they would write down? I love that stuff because it's getting to know the individual. The more and more we get to know the individual. Good. Can we all relate to something on that? Give me a big thumbs up. If you've never heard of that, but you're saying, you know what, I like 1 or 2, or I'm going to change it a little bit there. Give me a big yes before I move on here, so I know I'm speaking the language of everyone on this presentation. I'll just wait for him to come in. A big yes or a big thumbs up or whatever you've got in front of you. Brilliant. So Claire says absolutely critical to have captains connecting. Thank you. Good. So I will move on here. Okay, Matt's typing something in now. Good. So we'll look at philosophy now. So what is your philosophy built on? Do you continue to review it and revise it based on your beliefs? Now, is it built on team goals? And there's, and again, that's great if it's built on team goals. Does it have a little bit of the individual goals within that? The individuals going out to the bigger picture, which is the team goals. And how often do you evaluate it or revise it? Who helps you do that? Right? Do you have discussions with your peers regarding your philosophy? Right? Again, this is about the individual within the collective. It's not just about the players, it's about everyone individually growing within that group. Okay? But these are things you can start having those conversations with your peers, having conversations, having conversations with other people that are in other sports, checking on their philosophies. What's their philosophy based on? How true are you staying to your philosophy now in the world that we're living in right now? Prior COVID, during COVID, have you had to adapt it? Right? And there's nothing wrong with, again, we should all be doing it because it's healthy to keep going back to it and revisiting and saying, you know what, I've actually grown in this part now. I want to add that to my philosophy. Right? Have you communicated that with the parents, with the players? Right? It's one thing you having it, and yeah, I've got it under my desk here, but can you share that? Right? Fantastic. Good. Communication. Massive one, right? Massive. Okay. So just before I move on here quickly, Matthew's question: what age group do you think there should be a designated captain or captains or leadership group? There are always neutral leaders that emerge within, but with younger age groups it can be difficult to have designated captains and what the child's role is as a captain. You get creative with that. You get creative with that. The younger kids I've had sometimes, and again, you've got to think about the younger they are, you've got to get creative with it because they're not going to be able to have deep conversations about what someone wants for this season and that kind of thing. You've got to get creative with it. But again, it's just knowing your individuals, And sometimes you've got to set them on a path that they can start and then take it further. Okay, so hopefully that helps, Matt. But you've got to get creative with it. There's no right or wrong. Obviously, the younger they are, obviously you're not going to get those deep conversations. You'll get leadership in different ways, but you won't get the deep conversations that, you know, certain captains can possibly do after 11 or 12 years old, right? Anything under that, then obviously it's a different ball game, right? Okay, Claire said, I think it's great to have younger players all get a chance to be leader of the week, even in pairs if some of them are shy. Great, fantastic, right? A great way of doing it. Just like we set the younger age groups as well, everyone should be getting playing time, no different in leadership as well, right? Okay, hopefully that answered your question, Matt. Can I move on? Did that kind of get to it? Let me know quickly before I move on. Okay, good. All right, so communication. So when we talk about communication, you and the individual communicating, the player communicating with you, your peers, we've just talked about it. Okay, having that conversation with, it could be fellow coaches within your club, it could be fellow coaches that you're playing against, right? Hey, how did you find the team? What did you like about the team? Was there any players that stood out? Why did they stand out? These are all conversations when we're talking about the individual within the group, right? You learn so much from, we've just talked about questionnaire, now we're talking about the visual, right? Your team meetings, how do you bring up things in your team meetings regarding the individuals? Regarding letting them know how this team is built. It's built from individuals that then blossoms into a team, right? But that communication is very important. Players love to know that the coach cares about them individually as well. We've got the team goal and the team roles and responsibilities, but coach, hey, there's some goals I might have individually as well. Can you help me with them? Can you listen to them? Can we have a conversation about them? And these are all things that you can control. In setting that safe space for someone to talk, not only on good days, but bad days, or not bad days, days that they might be struggling. Create that safe space for communication. Okay, give me a big thumbs up. Can I move on? Does everyone get that one? Just give me a yes, a thumbs up. Okay, fantastic, good. So when we talk about visual evidence, okay, we've talked about the questionnaire, we've talked about communication, and now we're looking at the what? The visual, right? When you're having that one-on-one, right, or that talking about the individual, get permission, show video. Show video, but obviously in order to show video, we've got to have permission from not only the players, but obviously the parents. You might have some of that at the start of the season where you've had parents sign off and say, hey, during games or training, we are going to use this technology and it's based around for these purposes. So make sure you do get permission, right? But you're having that player individual conversation now backed up with some visual, some video evidence. You're now gauging some of the earlier conversations and now watching it in a video to see if it's tying together or if we're still doing this, right? Same thing with your coaches, your assistant coaches, right? Same conversation. And it could be looking at behavior, right? Looking at behavior. One of their goals could have been, I want to become more positive in my body language as an individual within this collective group. So now you're using video to replay back to them and to show them and see if it's happening, and then aligning that visual with things that have been said verbally, and obviously put down as well. Okay, the team, sharing information with the team, again visually, video. And I know a lot of you on this call do it already, and again it's fantastic, because as we always say, a picture paints 1,000 words. So without you doing all the talking, sometimes it's just show up, and the visual learners can start to get what you mean now, right? They learn from learning, from seeing a lot of the time as well. Okay, and then obviously friends. right? I like to look on friends and say, hey, if I'm doing something, come and watch. Come and watch. I have friends who come on these webinars who have nothing to do with the sport, but I say, hey, come on, how did I come across? Was there learning moments? I love to learn that as well. And I'm an individual within this technical group as well. And I do that with, Claire and John. We all learn that way individually. We have our team goals, but we all learn individually. Okay? So again, there's visual evidence is so powerful. So powerful. Okay? Self-reflection weeks, and I call it self-reflection weeks because again, we're a team. You've got the players, you've got the parents, and you've got your assistant coaches. And I find it interesting sometimes that we go through seasons where we've got these assistant coaches, but yet none of them have actually had the opportunity to coach, to lead training. And why I call it self-reflection weeks? Because these are weeks where you can actually say, hey, dive into feedback that you have collected and received from all parties. So whether that's players, your assistant coaches. If you have games, let your assistants take the games, head coach the games, whilst you take your time to go through that week, whether it's a week or 2 weeks, to go through all the information that you gathered. And not only go through it, but start to have those conversations. Start to show the visuals with players. So instead of it being you leading everything all the time, hey, have your coaches, your assistant coaches, get in there and start coaching, because they're going to learn through experience of coaching. But use these self-reflection weeks to start doing some of that stuff, because again, we're talking about getting back to giving feedback, sharing ideas, visually sharing the videos with those individuals, because again, we want to develop the individual. We want to guide the individual. We want to support the individual. So there's times when you've got to use whatever time you've got wisely. So self-reflection weeks, right? Hey, plan ahead. Hey coach, you're going to be leading these games, you're going to be, and make sure that's communicated with the players, make sure it's communicated with the parents. So if the parents see you on the sideline, they're not like, oh, he's not feeling well, or he or she's been lazy today. No, they get what's actually going on, because it's all based around the individual who is their children. And you're actually putting in that time for their children. So again, self-reflection weeks, try them, right? Dabble with it, see how you get. But it's powerful, okay? Any questions on that? Any questions? Give me a thumbs up. Is that something that you've already done before? Is something that possibly you can start looking to do, whether it's COVID or after COVID? Give me a thumbs up. Is that something? Yeah? Yes? No? Okay, fantastic. Got a thumbs up there. Good. Okay, so obviously we're looking at receivables now. Thanks, Kevin. Good. Thanks, Claire. Receivables. Dive into conversations with individuals in which you have promised to share that info with. So we've just talked about self-reflection weeks. This is it now. I've committed to you that whether it's 3 times that season, we're going to have these sit-downs and carry on looking at your development as an individual. Right? So now I'm using that now. I'm using those self-reflection weeks with all this content now to build on individually. Okay? But I can dive into it a little bit deeper now. I've planned it, whether it's at training or even at a game. I've planned to give that information. Okay? So use it wisely. I know our seasons sometimes can be short, and maybe you have the players once or twice a week. Use it wisely. Just because you have a title that says head coach, you can be head coaching in different ways as well. It doesn't just have to be in games and looking to get wins. These are wins as well. These are development as well, just like the football portion, just like the physical portion. These are wins as well. Okay, good. So as you see, I've just talked a while ago there about auditory, visual, kinesthetic. I said that word because it's very hard for me to say it. But look at that. So again, people learn in different ways. So, when I speak to coaches, sometimes they're like, yeah, I give them feedback. How did you give them feedback? Well, we just had a discussion. Well, look at that. We obviously know, right? People learn in different ways. And we want our individuals. We want to make sure we're getting to we're supplying that food for our learners. And we're mindful of different ways of how people learn. It's not just one conversation or we send an email. They learn in different ways. And we'll always got to be cognizant of making sure that we're aware of that. Okay? 30% auditory, 65% visual, 5%, right? Kinesthetic, right? Think about those numbers. And think about now, as you move forward, when you are looking at that individual, sharing information, taking in information, what kind of learners are they? Because you should be able to, each one of your individual players, you should be able to start putting a plan, not only a plan, information that you've got back of what kind of learner they are as well. Right? It's fantastic. Good. So, takeaway. Coaches need to reflect and have a clear understanding of their coaching philosophy. Very important, right? It's not just one thing that stays for the entire time. Play with it. Keep revisiting it. Push yourself in your thinking. Engage in conversations with others to push your thinking, right? Communication of your philosophy is important, so stakeholders know what to expect. So again, your organization, the club, the parents, the players, right? Communicate, right? But we're having this communication based on the individuals growing. And as individuals are meeting their goals, what happens to the team? It starts to do this, right? It starts to grow. Because now you've got a bunch of kids on the field who are all hitting or surpassing their individual goals, which is what we want. Not only us, but them. They've set themselves targets and goals, and we want to help and support them get to them or surpass them. Right? Challenges will arise, and this is when we can lean on the work we have already done. Right? You've put certain foundation work in. As things come, deal with it. Right? You'll have those individual moments. Right? You'll learn different things about yourself, about your coaching staff, about the players. And again, that's when possibly you might even go back to your philosophy again and say, hey, I actually might start doing this and I believe in this a bit more based on some of the info that's come your way or challenges that's come your way. And it's brought you into a different mindset of thinking. Okay? Good. Claire, do you want to, we talked about the me, now go into the we. Do you want to share something regarding that?
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to just quickly jump into the me part first, though. And question to the group that's joining us. How many of you are working with like little guys? How many are you working, and I say guys is the collective terminology for people right now. How many of you are working with just like more senior players? Because obviously there's a huge difference when we're trying to navigate that individual. So in the chat box, yeah, let me know kind of what age group you are all working with. If you don't mind doing that. Okay, so Kevin, thanks. Yeah. 13, 14, so we can start to give a little bit more responsibility to them, I think, for sure. Anybody else? Matt, 12, good, okay. Primarily youth, Kurt, cool. So right now, like, yeah, I mean, again, depending on the age category everybody's working with, it's gonna obviously shift how much of the individual is gonna have that clear voice, and they're gonna be developing as well, right, and trying to figure out what they want to do with their soccer career and what they want to do with their sporting experience and that kind of thing. So with most of you, you're working with those youth that are kind of coming into that, and they're kind of coming into their voices. So with them, it's great to have the space where, again, as Matt said, addressing it up front, giving them ample opportunities to speak and connect with their peers, as well as you as a coach. And then working with players like that, I think they get into hopefully a good habit of coming to their coaching staff or their captain and bringing concerns and that kind of thing too. One thing I really learned about this, especially working with older female athletes at the university level, is that they want information. They want to be engaged. They want to connect. They want to be heard as well, right? So things that we did to try and foster that individual development is the questionnaire, right? Like the kind of the introductory get to know me kind of questionnaire about, like, who's your favorite player? What's your favorite pregame food? How do you like to be before you get into game, amped up or kind of chill, and get that information from them. When was your best game? Could you use that potentially down the road, to help you get ready for games, kind of thing, and get them thinking about those things. And then the other thing that I realized is that the players still wanted more connection with us coaches, and how did they do and that kind of thing. So we devised a kind of a reflection sheet for them. Just as Matt said, as coaches, we sit back, and I think all of us do it, and keeps us up at night, where we're reflecting on the games, and did we make the right choices? Did we have the right lineups? Did we, press when we were supposed to? Where we managed to hold on? And we'll sit there and think about it a lot, right? By getting players to start thinking about it and reflecting on their own game, and again, that gives them some ownership of their development as well. So we would give them like a reflection sheet and say, how is your preparation for the game? How did you feel during the game? What did you eat? So that they can see kind of a pattern too of, this is working for me, this isn't, and then they could start that individual growth and that responsibility. And then if everybody's, as we know, it's a team sport. So if everybody's like developing and working hard and playing at their own individual best, the team kind of starts to come together too, right? So those elements, are so important to start with, and then trying to make us into the we. The reason why I asked the age group is because the individual is actually would be the family unit collective, right? I've got like a 6-year-old, so he doesn't know what he wants. He does half the time, So again, it'd be kind of having those conversations. If you're working with little ones, you're going to be having that conversation with the parents too, right? So it's that individual development is actually that little family unit development. What are they wanting out of their sporting experience, right? And you have to kind of draw that out of the parents and let them have their voices as well, and say, like, I really want this for my child. I want them to just be engaged and active and have fun. Great, let's go for it, right? And then once we kind of collect that data, as Matt said, then we can start to say, okay, now how do we pull this all together into our uniform and our team identity, and how do we pull it together into our, what we want to do as potentially a team or a club or, association, right? And so again, getting that information is so critical. And how do we bring it together now? Because again, as we said, challenges will arise. So what happens when you are working with a group, and I'm sure like we have a wealth of experience around the table here. How do we, really look at and go, okay, I have 3 players in this club or this organization that are like, I want to make those next steps. I want to be pushed. I want to go to universities. I want to get a D1 scholarship, those kinds of things. And you've got like, another 15 players that are just like, hey, happy to be here. If it works out for me, great. I just like playing and kicking around with my pals. And you get that because, again, teams can be so diverse. And I've been on like coaching teams like that. So how do we manage that, right? And sometimes, if we have done the work, we can step back and say, okay, maybe with this group, I can give them more as a coach, potentially, or maybe I have to sit back and be realistic and go, hey, you know what? Like, you guys are phenomenal. Your goals are up here. As a club or as an organization, this is where we're at right now, and I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm going to see if I can help promote you, or that kind of thing. Some coaches will be like, nope, I want them. They're mine. These are my best players and that kind of thing. But then who who are we really, like, who is it about then, right? So again, it's for us, or for me anyways, it's always been about, hey, getting to know those players, because if you can create those connections and then foster the community within the team, and develop that we, and that's very intentional, right? Like, it just doesn't happen organically. It's very intentional, where you're doing team building events, and you're getting out of your comfort zones, and you're being silly, and enjoying each other kind of off the pitch, right? That to bring the team together, people that have had the experience of being on the teams where you're just like, it just fits, it clicks, because again, that respect, that determination for your peers, because everybody has that within the group, that everybody respects your peers so much that you're going to do whatever you can for them. You have successful teams, right? But again, it's that little bit of connection and work off the field that can help make that happen, right? And then again, like, being deliberate in that to create the we out of those individuals, right? And being honest, I think, is so super important, that if you do get into those situations where you have opposing kind of philosophy or expectations and those kinds of things, sitting back and going, okay, here's our core values as a club, here's our core values as a team, and I'm going to be honest with you, this might not be the best fit for you, right? And being able to do that too, as a team. I know it's easier with maybe some more senior players, and again, it's a little bit more difficult for the youth players. And I think we're a bit more. We need to be more accommodating when we're working with those younger age groups. But then as you move on, you start to say, okay, like, this is what we're about. This is what we want to achieve, and that kind of thing. And this is our identity, whatever it may be that you create within your club, within your program and your team. So again, it'd be interesting to see what all of you do to kind of foster that individual. Is there anything that we have said that resonates, or something you're like, hey, you know what, like, this is what we do and it's worked really well for us? Because again, this environment right now, these lunch and learns, is not just a one-way conversation. We'd love to hear, and to hear what you all have done to kind of create that, hey, you're important on this team, we need you on this team, but it's also a team, and we're trying to do this as well, and how you've handled that. So I'm going to turn my mic off and let you guys go ahead and please share. That'd be wonderful.
I can share a bit. So just for me, I've always placed myself in environments where we train players and not teams. And for me, the player is the key element, the cornerstone or the formation of the process, and the game is the fundamental means of learning. And that's where they learn and assimilate the concepts or the philosophy. And we work to improve the individual through the collective work. But it starts with identifying what does each individual player need to progress, to grow, to improve. And then the idea, not saying it's right or wrong, but for me is that through the improvement of each individual, the team improves. So we really work holistically backwards. There's a model of the game, but then we look at the collective objectives. Then we break it down into the exercise objectives. But then the biggest circle for us is the individual objectives. What does each individual need to prioritize to improve their strengths, but also with a bigger focus on recognizing, identifying, and getting to agree to the areas they need to improve in order to grow. So this is my sharing.
Fantastic, Kurt. I love that. Some great tidbits in there as well when you're talking about, obviously, the individuals that grow and learn. It benefits the team as a whole, right? And I think sometimes in our environment, we start the other way around. We try and build teams and blah, 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 and then the individual comes last. And I love the fact that you shared that. We talked about it a lot in here, and Claire just did it as well. So it's glad to hear that I know you personally, you've been doing it for years, but it's good that you're sharing that with everyone on here as well. So thanks for that. Anyone else? It's great that I can see everyone now that I've took the presentation off. I can still see some faces, which is good. I can see Matty. Matty, you want to share anything? Any learnings, anything that you've heard today, or that you might add to your repertoire of your coaching and the individuals? He's looking at me. It's frozen. Can't hear you. Sorry. Can't hear you. Are you on mute?
Okay, good. Sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
I think that working the last year and a half, 2 years in Sherwood Park with that particular group of players, and I've been teaching grade 7 now for the past 3 years. So I've really noticed in that 11 to 12 age group, and the U13s are very unsure of themselves in the place in their team, and the confidence, like on the whole, there are kids that are extremely confident by nature, but there's more so the kids are very unsure of themselves, and they want to please, they want to do well, but they've got a lot of the kids have got a almost like an anxiety barrier in terms of performance, and they want to do so well that they get in their own way. And I can't stress how much it means to them for coaches to say that was really good, and not in the session. It's good in a session once they're playing, because they're so wrapped up in the session. I find that they don't hear as much, but you don't get as much a reaction out of them. But if you pull them aside on the sideline, or as you're walking out after a practice, or just have a quiet word with them that's not in public, so it's not for anyone else, and they know it's just between you, and you just tell them very specifically, this is what I noticed that you did very well. I thought you did great today, or whatever. And it's amazing how that changes their body language and gives them a real boost, because they really do want to do well. It's just, I found they're very nervous and very shy even.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I love that, and the fact that you've recognized it is powerful. I'd even push even further a little bit, because that's a great point you bring up. Why not give them feedback based on their goals as well? Because we don't want them being people pleasers, going through a soccer journey of being people pleasers. And this is why, if we put that work in at the beginning, and we find out what they're looking to achieve as well, then anytime we're giving them feedback, we're basing it on their why as well, so you can put the two together. Because otherwise it can become a thing of, okay, coach wants this and my parents want this, I'm always doing this, but they're forgetting them, their goals, their journey. Right. So again, I think it's great. It's a great point you brought up. But I'd even challenge all of us to bring it back to, or to include someone's why.
But right? I think when you're looking in this 11, 12, 13, even 14s at some point, where they don't actually know what their goals are. So even bringing it to them and saying, what do you want out of this? And not just posing it as a rhetorical question, but actually trying to even start putting in their minds, because there's a lot of kids that just go because it's the thing that they do, and they don't have questions about what you're doing in training. They kind of look at you blankly. If you ask them if they have questions, they struggle to find questions because they're not intellectually internalizing what they're actually doing and why they're doing it. And so that I find that sometimes really hard, because they don't really know what's driving them, other than they've done it since they were 5, and it's something that their parents support them doing. And they turn up and hang out with some people that they enjoy hanging out with, but it's as the elite pursuit of becoming a better soccer player. It's more so. I find trying to figure out, or for them to take ownership and to drive their own why, is actually quite difficult until you get into the older ages, but it should happen at a younger age.
Yeah, you're right. But I will challenge you, because again, I've lived in 9 countries. Have faith in kids. Have faith in kids. Kids are a lot smarter than we think sometimes. And I'm not saying just living in Canada. I'm saying it in all the 9 countries I've lived in. Because it is a good point. But again, it's built on relationships, and it's built on, there could be something that drives someone that has nothing to do with soccer. But again, when I'm giving them feedback in soccer, I'm relating it to in something else that drives them. So again, that comes from getting to know the individual. Right? I love basketball. I've never played basketball in my whole life. But I love it. I love it. And I can sit here and have conversations about basketball with people who actually know I love basketball. But I've never played it, never coached it. Obviously, I'm too tiny for it. But again, it's when you relate things to people. You know, we had someone on one of our courses many years ago. He came in, I think it was on the first day, and he says, I love winning. I don't care about anything else. I love winning. And we said, okay, brilliant. He loves winning. We got to know him a bit more. By the end of the course, we not got him, but we had conversations, and we had him go away and reflect on, is there other aspects of looking at winning? Is there other aspects of kids leaving your environment and striving for greatness in life outside of soccer, being the best role model, you know, never giving up when life gets hard? Is that not winning as well? So all we did is reframed how we looked upon winning, and just reframed it based upon something bigger. And again, that's something we all can do as well. So Matt, thank you though. Thank you for sharing. Kurt shared as well. Kevin, do you want to chime in? Can you hear anything? Oh, Logan? No?
Hey, Matt. Hi.
Hey, Kevin. There we go. You appeared.
I just want to say that, you know, because of this pandemic situation that we have, you know, finding time, you know, talking to individuals, especially at the young age, they don't like to be talking in front of the group. They just feel, pressure on the others. Oh, the coach is telling me something. Did I do something wrong? They look at it negatively instead of positively. So I think it's using the technology like Zoom, for example, and, talk to the kids, because it's hard to find time to get one by one individual and talk to them. But at the evening, parents and kids are at home. You can just set up a Zoom time with them. And then you guys, especially looking at each other, it's just, physical appearance and talking, and see the kids, face, and then allowing them to talk. It would be a good thing. That's what I see as a positive things about this COVID time.
Yeah. Fantastic, Kevin. Yeah, good. Just that connections, right? Not only with you, but with each other.
Exactly. Individually, so, wonderful conversation we had today. Last time was about philosophy. Now deliver the philosophy to the individuals one by one. So basically, we can just set up a Zoom time. Talk to parents can be happy, especially for my group age, because they are younger. It's good to have parents as well, involved and see, they have some opinions. As you said, we're all connected. So having a Zoom conversation, something like this, we see each other, we talk to each other, we put the plan, ask their feedbacks, their opinion, their goals, and things like that. It's very helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing that. Logan or Chris, any feedback from you? Anything you'd love to share? And again, if you don't want to come on camera, that's all, you can pull it in the chat as well. But is there anything you've heard from your peers today, or something that you've done that you found helpful that you think we could share as well? No? Okay. That's okay. I love it. That's okay. And again, it's fine, because again, we've got to think about everyone as well, and that's okay. So yes, I do want to thank everyone again. Fantastic, some great, again, Kurt, Matt, Kevin sharing some great stuff, Claire, some great stuff Oh, I just saw Christopher come online. Claire sharing some great insight as well from her experience. Chris, I can see it. Oh, it keeps coming in and out.
Sorry, I'm here.
Yeah, do you want to share some, Chris?
Sorry.
Great to see you. I get a visual.
My computer was lagging. Sorry. I'm not a coach. I'm a parent that videotapes all the games, and I'm just sort of interested in what other coaches think. My son's going into grade 10 right now, so I'm just trying. He's sort of at a crossroads. COVID sort of made the situation a little more complicated, but we're seeing other things. We're seeing what our coaches are or aren't doing now, so it's a little bit more because it's all about coaching and very little bit about games. So yeah, I'm just sort of, my son wants to play college soccer eventually. He's going to St. Francis in the fall, theoretically, if that goes ahead. So yeah, I'm just sort of trying to see what coaches should be doing, right? And seeing if his coaches are doing that, right? So that I can help him make the right decisions on where he should be playing. Yeah, so it's been really enlightening. So thank you for doing this.
Fantastic. So was there one thing, or can you pick one thing out of what you've heard today, whether it was me, whether it's Claire or some of your peers, that kind of stood out to you and you said, you know what, I'm going to probably dive into that a bit more?
Yeah, the goal setting was big. I mean, him and I have talked. He's a goalkeeper, so he's always been, I want to work on this, I want to work on that. But actually writing it out and then going back and sort of analyzing, did I get to that point when I wanted to get to that point? And, is my high diving better than it was a month ago? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something I think that I can help him sort of build a plan so that he can actually see his improvement, because he gets quite frustrated if he doesn't catch, like, oh, I should have caught that one. And I'm like, well, relax. It didn't go in the net. It was a save. Like, take the win, right? But he's upset because he should have brought the ball down instead of pushed it away for a corner kind of thing, right?
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And the fact that you're on here and the fact that you're doing great work and you're a loving father and supporting your child, hats off to you, Father. Hats off to you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just the fact, I love the fact that you said you wanted to come on and learn, not only educate yourself, but educate what, possibly your child's coach should be doing as well, or should be looking to doing as well. So again, I think it's powerful in itself. Because again, the route that you've talked about it as well. So again, thank you for coming on as well, Christopher.
Thanks for doing these.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing them 12 to possibly 1 each week. So again, please look out. I know Claire's just put a feedback form in the chat box as well. But before we wrap up here, any last thoughts from anyone? Because again, I'm mindful of the time. Some are on lunch. Obviously, I can see Chris, so you're not in, sipping tequila somewhere on a nice beach. Logan hasn't shown his face, so Logan could be doing it. But yeah, any last thoughts? We're all good. Okay, God, thanks, Kurt. Okay, so again, enjoy the rest of your day. I think it's really nice outside. Again, we're here to support you. As I always say, we have different badges on our chest, but we're part of the same family. Okay, so again, anything we, the technical stuff Alberta Soccer can do to support you going forward, please just reach out. We're always here. Okay, so thanks again. Thank you. Stay safe, and we'll speak to everyone soon. Okay, thanks, John Club. Thanks again. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Thank you. Thanks, Claire. And